Yes, you did read that right. We had a bear in our town. Hey everybody, welcome to Reach and Reverie. Now you probably clicked on this video because of the title, so let's get into that. But first, I'm gonna give my girls a snack because it is 102 degrees outside right now, and we're talking about the shade here. So got some refrigerated ham and some cantaloupe so they can have a little snack to cool down. I've been coming out here every single hour today and watering the ground for evaporative cooling, and I've also been refilling a couple places with cool vitamin water. So let's see. You got a good one, Mary. Yeah, that's still cool. Checking that they have plenty of water. The last time that we had a bear anywhere close to Alpine, Texas that was sighted was almost 10 years ago, down to the month. It was June, beginning of June. Here we are, June 22nd. And back then in 2011, our little town was surrounded by wildfires and lots of drought. So the bears were coming into town looking for water. It's a really hot summer. It has rained probably 3 days this season since spring, and spring was a very hot and dry season as well. And one of the 3 times that it rained, it was just a short, maybe 10-minute rainfall, and it was just hail. So we're not getting a lot of moisture out here unless it's supplemented, like in a town with irrigation. So a lot of the wildlife is being forced to search for water by coming into places that might, endanger them and us coming into town looking for water. Alright, I had to turn on the water so that I could get this ground moist. It's going to help the evaporative cooling and kind of keep the chickens just a little bit more comfortable on a really hot day like today. Look at this. It is 100 degrees. That's in the shade. I looked at my phone and my phone says it's 102 with a real feel of 104. So you see the girls drinking some cool vitamin water. On really hot days like this, I put extra water out just so that they have plenty of options. You can see the girls hunkering down in the shade, heavy shade. I love this property because there's plenty of shade for the girls to get up and under on a really, really hot day like this. That's one thing I'm gonna miss when we move. Another thing that we did recently is we added an extra shade structure over the coop just to keep the sun off of it, because that's like gonna be like an oven on a really hot day when they're trying to lay eggs. Hey, Miss Birdie Molly. I have this open as well just to help vent even more air. We have windows. The side is vented and the back is vented, and then we have a fan in the run that blows air back here to kind of help keep the coop as cool as possible in this desert region that we live in. So normally I don't think that it's very safe to leave this door open, but I'm off today. I'm off of work, so I can come out here and check on her all day long. So first things first, let me cool down this area. Now on really, really hot days like this, I will also go ahead and turn on the drippers to irrigate our trees, and that's gonna give the girls another cool fresh water source, because I do not like it when they start panting like that and holding their wings out away from their body, those are signs of heat stress. When they hold their wings away from their body, you can see Miss Myrtle doing it a little bit. They are trying to get airflow to their vital organs, and it helps lower their body temperature. But look at this. French breakfast radish is finally flowering. Doesn't that look just like broccoli? Okay, so irrigating trees. This is the regular water hose, dripper system, and then this waters the dog yard. All right, guys, so let's talk about this bear. It was a little too close for comfort. So we had a bear in our town about 2 nights ago, and bears are really uncommon coming this close to town. They are native to this region. However, I've only ever seen them in Big Bend National Park. I've heard about them up in Fort Davis, but out here, I mean, we're like in the middle of the desert. Why would a black bear want to come here? So they do live here, but they are pretty elusive, kind of mind their own business. The girls are looking much happier and more active now that the ground is moist and cooler. I think when I spray the ground with water and it has that evaporative cooling effect, it feels at least 10 to 15 degrees cooler. So on days like today, we like to come out here at least every hour. Sometimes we'll come out here every half hour and just check that the ground is nice and cool and moist, and that will help keep the chickens happy and comfortable and healthy. We also are constantly checking their waters to make sure that not only they have water, but that their water sources are cool. You can see little Miss Yasha over there drinking out of the tub. And then I have Miss Ariel right here drinking out of the gallon water. And then we even have another little tub right there that is full of water. And on days like today, we also are definitely using vitamin water. And I'll show you what I use. I'm not sponsoring this in any way, but just so y'all know what I use. I get this at Tractor Supply. The first time I got it, it was $9.99 or something like that, but last time we went, they were on sale for like $6, so we went ahead and grabbed like 3 of them just to make sure that we're stocked up for the summer. And it just comes with a little scoop. It has a little scoop in there, and you just give them 1 scoop of the powder for every gallon of water that you give them. And it's kind of like chicken Gatorade. And the girls don't mind the flavor. They do recommend, if you do give them something like this, have additional water sources that don't have that in it, because some chickens are really picky, and if you mess with the flavor, they might avoid that water source. So we offer, like this one definitely has it in there. We always have it in this 1 gallon. This one, it does not. And then I also put the vitamin water into this tub. You can see it's kind of a yellowish color because of that. So lots of options for our girls on a really hot day like today. And here you can see the girls love drinking from our drippers because it is running fresh water, and chickens love the freshest water possible. A lot of times when I'm watering the ground, they're standing right there trying to get the water coming out of the hose, and sometimes they get a little wet. So on really hot days, we will offer this option to the chickens as well. And then our trees get a little bit of water too. All right, so I came home from work for my lunch break the other day. It was probably 2 afternoons ago. And I always come out and check on my chickens, especially in the middle of the day, like for lunch, because I know it's hot. I would definitely want to check that everybody's doing okay. So I get out here, and the first thing I notice is I hear the alarm call. And chickens, when they are afraid of something, they will warn all of the other chickens in the area by doing this alarm call. And it's different most of the time. Your chickens are really quiet. They make their little like dirk, dirk, dirk noises. They have a couple of different ways that they communicate. And then every now and then you'll hear an egg song, which is a noise that chickens make when they either need to lay an egg or just laid an egg. But an alarm call is a little different. You can kind of feel the importance of it. It's not the same thing as like a rooster crow, because these girls, I mean, girls can crow, but our girls don't. But there is a sense of urgency to it. It's like a duck, 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 and then they'll be really loud about it, so it makes you notice. So as soon as I came through the back door and I'm about to say hi to the girls, I'm like, they're alerting to something. So my first reaction whenever I hear them alerting is there a predator in the area? So I come out the back door, I come through the gate, and I start talking to the girls, and I'm like, okay, I don't see a predator. I always look to the sky for a hawk, because we actually do get quite a few hawks that come and look at the girls. And anytime I see a hawk, I always make the alert sound to my chickens, because I'm a crazy chicken lady. And I'll grab a handful of alfalfa hay, which is their favorite treat, and I call them to the chicken run, and I will lock them up for about an hour or so until the hawks leave the area. And I'll let Dyson outside, because I don't think that they would want to come and grab a chicken when there's a big dog out in the yard. And then I will let the chickens back out after about an hour. So I went to grab some alfalfa hay, and I'm calling the girls, and they are actually hiding under this quince bush, all gathered around the quince bush. And when I came out, it was Odette, who is our alpha, who was clucking, and it was actually also Dua that was clucking. And Dua is our second to lowest rank in the pecking order, but she was doing a great job at alerting to the fact that there was a predator in the area. So that was awesome for her. And Odette's usually the only one who clucks. Every now and then Yasha, who's our black Australorp, she's over there drinking. Every now and then Yasha will also alert to predators. So we really have 3 girls who are really good at clucking to alerts. So I come out, and Odette and Dua are clucking, and at this point I'm looking around, I'm not seeing anything, but then you can feel it in the air. All the wildlife around us was freaking out too. We have a huge pine tree in our neighbor's front yard just over there, and when I looked over there, I could see that some of the foliage was shaking, and I could hear all of the birds, all of the wild birds in the area were alerting. We had the sparrows, there were ravens, there were doves, there were all kinds of birds that were just squawking and screeching and fluttering around and just going crazy. So I'm thinking, okay, this predator that we have in the area is unusual, because most of the time if there's a hawk, the birds go silent. And you'll have a couple of birds that will go and mob the hawk. Like I've seen ravens, and mobbing is when you get a flock of birds that will go and fly at the predator and like kind of like dive bomb it and then get out of the way, and they'll be squawking and screeching at it, and they're trying to intimidate the predator and say like, hey, you lost the element of surprise, don't try to eat us because we already see you. And you know, usually the hawk will fly away. But that's not what these birds were doing. They were freaking out. And yeah, usually when there's a hawk, you'll have a couple birds that are mobbing and everybody else is just like hiding and silent. So I'm like, okay, if it's not a hawk, what else is there? So I was already kind of on edge. I actually took my camera out, and this is a really bad quality because it's my camera phone, and I think I was recording it on my Instagram app, and so it was really pixelated. But I'm gonna go ahead and show that video to you guys. But a little backstory is that all the chickens were under the quince bush. I had alfalfa in my hand and the chickens weren't reacting to it. And right before I pulled my camera out, I was already trying to get them into the run. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to document this because this is just kind of weird. So in the video, that's what you're going to see. So here it is. They're hiding from something, and the birds in that tree are going crazy, so they're listening to the birds. Let's go, girls! They're hiding from something, and the birds in that tree are going crazy, so they're listening to the birds. Let's go, girls! And that was it. So, I mean, it doesn't really look like much. I don't have a bear on the camera. I didn't know at the time that that's what it was in the area and that it was even less than a block away from our little homestead. But I did know that something was off and the energy and the chickens were freaking out. And that behavior for my chickens, like, I know my girls, and that was really unusual. So I picked up on that. After I finished shooting that video, I ended up getting Trey, my little brother-in-law, to help me, and we ended up grabbing each chicken one by one and put them away in the coop because we were really freaked out that maybe a raccoon or something was in the area that might get the girls. So we went ahead and locked them up. I went back to work, and then when I came home, we let them back out to free range a couple hours before bed. And it wasn't until the next day I heard about the fact that it was a bear in our area. So I live in a really small town. We have a population of like 5,000 people during the school season. We're in the off season, so it's about half that right now. So one of my coworkers, her mom was actually the homeowner of the area where the bear was sighted. And that was less than 10 blocks from our house. So what she did was they called the cops. They had Parks and Wildlife out there, the police department, and I forget who else out there trying to scare the bear off. And it was a black bear, and he looked small, kind of young, and there were a couple pictures of him that are going around on Facebook right now, and he looked pretty cute. But we don't want a black bear in the middle of town. So they tried scaring him off. They didn't use lethal force. They did shoot at him with rubber bullets and successfully scared him away. And what the officials are saying is that they think that the reason that he came into town was because he was probably searching for water, because we are in one of the worst droughts that we've had in the past decade, unfortunately. So I'm really glad that he was okay. I'm really glad. I don't like anyone shooting wildlife or being in the wrong place. Maybe scaring him away will work. I don't want him to come to our garden or eat our chickens, but I'm hoping that they were able to scare him away. But that's crazy, right? Like, I came home for lunch, chickens were acting weird, and then a couple hours later it turns out that there was a bear spotted less than 10 blocks from our house. And we live like 1 block away from Main Street downtown. I know our town has 0 stoplights, so it is one of those like really small towns, but that's really pretty cool. So hopefully he doesn't come anywhere close to our house. We do have surveillance cameras on the chicken coop. You can see right there is one, and this camera is really cool in that it sees this whole area, and it sees about all the way half the backyard, and it can even see into the alley. So if a bear does come by to see our chickens or visit our house and tries to get some fresh water or scraps, we will get notifications directly to our phones, and we will be out here scaring that bear off. So I just wanted to update you guys. All of our girls are safe, and we are definitely going to keep a lookout. Black bears are not on the radar for predators that we're looking out for here in West Texas, and our coop is not something that would hold up to a bear attack either. So we're just going to hope that he doesn't come back because he's really scared. But it does kind of make me nervous that our house would be the perfect place for him to come and get a snack. lots of water, lots of yummy food. Look at Miss Molly. Molly, you look hot. Lots of yummy food. Lots of fresh veggies and fruit. But I think, if I was shot at with rubber bullets, I wouldn't come back either. So let's hope for the best. He's wildlife, so he belongs in the wild and not here in town. But I wish him the best of luck too. I hope he can find some water. The types of wildlife that we do see a lot of in town are javelinas. We see a ton of mule deer. I actually saw a huge buck standing right outside our house last fall. And a lot of times when we're out walking the dog, we can see as many as like 30 deer. They actually come down into town in the early mornings and in the evenings to get away from predators, because we do have mountain lions. And those we actually see a lot more of than bears. I've lived in Alpine for 8 years now, and I have seen a mountain lion 3 times since I've lived here, but I've never seen a black bear here in town. So that was pretty interesting, not something that we were expecting. But I'm really glad that nobody was hurt. The chickens are safe, and I'm really happy that the bear lived too, and hopefully he's gonna be a little more cautious when he tries to visit us next time. What you doing, Yasha? You hot? You gonna come say hi? A little warm today, girl. Now, Australorps, they actually do really well in the hot weather. Australorps are native to Australia, so even though they have a really dark plumage, they are unusually adapted to the hot weather and can tolerate it pretty well. Like, she's not even panting. Look at how pretty Sneezes is. She's sitting on that roost. She loves to sit here because when it gets windy, she's under the shade, but then she also gets the cool breeze under her tummy. And she's right next to a really pretty spring. Unnatural spring, I guess, because it's from a dripper system. Hey, Sinisa. Now, she is a blue sapphire gem, and that's basically a crossbreed between a blue Andalusian and a Plymouth Rock? Some kind of rock? I don't know, I'd have to look it up. She's a crossbreed between 2 different breeds, and I do know more about blue Andalusians, and because that's what I thought she was at first until she started laying brown eggs. So with my research on blue Andalusians, they're really well adapted to the hot weather. They can dissipate a lot of their heat through their comb, but they are not really good for cold weather because they can get frostbite easier. Now, she is our biggest chicken here on our little homestead, and she is our heaviest chicken. So I can imagine that she's probably feeling the heat just as much as everybody else, but she's doing good. Look at her resting. She is panting a little bit, but we're doing everything we can to keep these girls cool and comfortable. Now, Dua, our Dominique, she's also really well suited for this environment. Dominiques are good for both cold and hot weather. Their combs are really good at dissipating heat, but because their combs are small, it's a lot harder for them to get frostbite. What are you saying, Dua? You want to say hi to everybody? Yeah. Well, hey. Our Rhode Island Red girls do seem to pant a little bit more heavily than some of our other breeds, but I mean, they seem like they're doing pretty good. They also like to hang out together. Our Rhode Island Reds are our best egg layers, but they also seem to be just a little bit more temperamental than some of our other breeds that we've had here on our little homestead. But we love all of our girls. Little Dua's following me around. Hey! You little sweetie pie. Here we have Miss Pip. And then Ariel is at that waterer. And then Myrtle just walked off. There she is, Miss Myrtle, our other Rhode Island Red. And then there's Miss Odette, our Brahma. And Brahmas are supposed to be one of the less heat tolerant birds just because they're a heavier breed. They're also really fluffy with a lot of down feathers, and then they also have feathered feet. But surprisingly, Odette doesn't skip a beat in the hot weather. I think she's really good at taking care of herself. She is our smartest chicken by far on the homestead. She's the one who, I know she knows her name, she knows how to come, she is the most reliable with coming when called when we have treats, and she likes to set an example for the other girls. She's also the best at spotting predators, and she takes care of the girls. She's our alpha. And then this is Mary. She is what's called a red sex link, and amber white is another term for them. Mary and Molly, which are our two amber links, are our least heat tolerant birds. They get overheated more quickly than anybody else here on the homestead. So whenever we're watering the ground, they're usually trying to get wet, and they're always drinking water and hydrating to stay cool. Hey, Miss Mary. Hey, what you doing? You getting some fresh water? She loves getting her feet wet, and she just doesn't even avoid the water. Look at how poopy she is cleaning her feathers. Nisa, you're a poopy chicken. Oh, Dua says, you're not talking about me? I can be poopy too. Look at that. So you see right above her tail, she has what looks like a bald spot whenever she reaches back there and lifts up her feathers. What she's exposing, she might do it for us, is what's called a uropygial gland. And right above their tail there is a little oil gland that when they rub it and then rub their feathers, they're coating their feathers with oil, which is kind of like a conditioner, and it keeps their feathers nice and healthy. And so she was doing it earlier. I don't know if she's going to do it again for us. But they rub that uropygial gland and rub that oil from their beak, which they grabbed from the gland, all over their body, and it helps keep their feathers in good condition. Odette, you look like you're due for a little grooming. You are not white. You're like off-white right now. What have you been getting into? Alright, well, we are going to try to stay safe and keep our eyes peeled for some black bears and other predators. But as always, you guys keep doing what you're passionate about, and I wish you luck in whatever endeavors you guys are going through and facing. And until next time, happy homesteading. We were dealing with wildflowers. The last time that there was a bear was when we had wildflower. Why do I keep saying wildflowers? Wildfires.